next speaker. He is not just the world's leading patent practitioner, a very well sought out IP counsel, a Stanford professor, and all the great credentials that you will read in his bio. An inspired moment remains just an inspired moment in the presence of fear. And if it wasn't for Nader Mousavi, I would have never asked Berkeley to teach a class. When I had the privilege to join WilmerHale, and I was a first-year associate, Nader had an office next to me. And of course, we didn't work in the same group. I was a litigator. And he came to my office and he said, we share a wall, and we're going to have an oral NDA. You're going to hear a lot of things, and you're under this NDA. And I was like, okay. And I heard a lot of things throughout the years, but mostly what I heard was, what an amazing lawyer and what an amazing person he is. Even in the midst of his busiest deals, he would take the time to talk to his elderly assistant. And he came to me and he said, I am involved with the citizen schools. We're going to teach we had an after-school program for middle school kids. We're going to teach them over a course of 10 weeks to become trial lawyers. And I want you to teach this with me. And when he went away, I sat in my office and I thought of every single excuse I was going to tell him to escape this. I'm really busy. Well, he's busier than me. Well, I asked him to join this bar association he did without even meeting me. And anything I thought about, I just couldn't dare go tell him. And, well, I dared, but I just didn't want to disappoint him. But I realized the reason I didn't want to do it was because I was afraid. I thought I would not be a good teacher. I thought, well, it's easy to teach somebody who gets it right away, but kids? What if they ask me something I don't know? What if I'm shorter than they are? So what if they just don't listen to me? So because I respected him so much, I sucked it up, and I taught citizen schools. And I actually loved it. So if I hadn't had that experience, if he hadn't, by the example he had set in the office, gotten out of my fear, I would have never dared to put together that syllabus and tell Berkeley I was going to teach it. And after you teach those middle school kids, teaching law schools is a breeze. So with that, it's my privilege and honor to introduce Nader Mousavi.
Well, that was incredibly kind, Nikki. Thank you so much. Some of those things I didn't even know. Going back to that same hallway that we were at our law firm where we practiced together, there was another member of the audience here who was along with us in the same hallway, and another person. All of us share a common heritage. And one of the very humorous partners in the office, who actually did have a fantastic sense of humor, referred to this as the Persian ghetto. We knew he meant well, but we tried to still rebrand our part of the office as the Persian corridor or Persian wing. But the ghetto stuck. So that's so much for recognition of diversity in the context of large law firms. But I have known Nikki for many years. I think I actually partially was responsible for persuading her for leaving her prior law firm before joining the firm that we worked at together. And it's always been an incredible pleasure to be around Nikki. She is a motivator, and I think for Professor Baring saying that he wants her to control all aspects of his life in the local city, I think she's well on her way. I mean, and if you think that she doesn't already, you might want to think again, because I think, when she says to show up somewhere, I know I better show up. So, yeah, Nikki's always been a great motivator, and it's really inspiring, I think, to watch how her path, and having seen how she has identified a really significant problem in legal education, which is this gap where they tell you that you learn how to think like a lawyer, but you don't actually learn how to think like a lawyer. You learn how to think, pardon me, like a litigator in a particular setting. And you don't really know, when you conclude law school, how to do a lot of the basic fundamental tasks that you're going to be asked to do when you get into practice. That is something that we all experience, as Professor Baring has indicated, as we transition from school to practice. And unlike many others who've sort of taken a long time to recognize this and start to think about doing something about it in a law school setting, Nikki has started a great company to really address that issue. This is actually, for me, had a very personal relevance in terms of my own career development. When I was a law student at Stanford, I arrived there and had the same feeling that Professor Baring mentioned, which is, I am really not sure how I got in here or whether I belong. In any case, I'll just try to keep my head down and make sure they don't notice or revoke my admission as I'm here. And as I went along just started to form the ideas around where I wanted to go in my career, I decided that I wanted to do something that none of my classmates were doing at the time. I wanted to jump right into a small technology company and help that company grow and succeed in a legal capacity, being a quote general counsel, never having been in practice before. This was an opportunity that came up because a couple of friends of mine from college had started this company, and they thought I could do anything even if I didn't have any credentials for it. So I went ahead and started to think really seriously about this and talked to a lot of people to gather advice, whether this made sense. I went to parents, friends, and professors, and one of my professors told me, quote unquote, that I would be a fool to do this. And I said, well, why? They have offered me the position and this could be a great learning experience. And he explained that law school is a call option on being a lawyer. And you don't exercise the call unless you take a job at a law firm or some other established legal setting that trains you how to be a lawyer. That actually shocked me, because I thought that I had spent the last 3 years learning how to become a lawyer. And that was quite a wake-up call when one of my own professors told me that, in fact, that is not what they were doing there. In any case, although I had to go against the grain and think long and hard about it and take probably an unwise risk, I went ahead and did it anyway. And fortunately, it worked out. But I would have been in a lot better position had Nikki and 3L Plus been around in that era, because some of the many mistakes that I made in the ensuing years, maybe I could have been saved from a few of them along the way. I want to recognize the diversity scholars and just say that it's great that you're taking a proactive approach to your careers, and you're investing in yourselves and your futures, and I think that you couldn't be doing it in a better way than what you're doing here. And on many levels, when we get into new environments and are learning in new settings, the first question that you're asking yourself is, am I really cut out to do this? Can I do this? Do I belong here? And I think that's why it is so important for organizations like this to help us along and make sure that when you hit the ground running, and you know that you were meant to be there, and that's half the battle. Also the sponsors in the room, I don't know who are the sponsors, but that's great that you're supporting 3L Plus. As I was coming up the elevator on the way here, there was a family in there, and one of the little girls said that she too wanted to go to the clown room. That was, only Nikki could pull off getting this room. And now you know, as sponsors, where your money is going. No, I'm kidding. She did, just in case you're wondering, she did manage to get this at no additional cost. But only Nikki could actually do that. So just another reason that she is a force of nature. Just with that, I want to really thank you, Nikki, for inviting me to speak here, and I think that what you're doing is very important. It's very important for each individual that has the chance to go through your program. It's important to the legal profession because it is a real gap in legal training to really teach people what they're going to encounter when they get into practice and prepare them for that. And it's a real service for those individuals, and particularly those with diverse backgrounds like we have here, and like ourselves, to give us that leg up. And so I think that's, for a lot of reasons, a wonderful thing that you're doing, and it's wonderful all of you in the room to help support that. So thank you very much.
And now we will be raffling off our prizes. And our first prize is a Star